Welcome to Mindful Monday. If you're new here, Mindful Monday is about a half hour long. We do 10 minutes of EFT tapping on a topic. Today will be vulnerability. Then we do an activity. Today's activity is going to be sound bathing. I'm going to be playing the heart chakra singing bowl, and I'll have some music play in the background. So just kind of, rest, relax, and just be present. And then we go into reading, and we are reading The Power of Now. So we'll continue reading that for about 10 minutes. All right, so let's go ahead and start tippity tapping. If you're new to tapping, you can tap on one side and then switch sides. You can tap with on both sides at once if you want. You can just tap on one side. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll start tapping on our karate chop point. Again, we are tapping on vulnerability. Here we go. Even though it doesn't feel safe to be vulnerable right now, I choose to show love and compassion to myself. And even though I feel afraid, that if I'm vulnerable, I'll be hurt again, I choose to completely love and accept myself. As well as anyone else connected to this. All this fear of being vulnerable. All this doubt that it is safe for me to be vulnerable. All this anxiety about opening up and being vulnerable. All this pain from allowing myself to be vulnerable in the past. What if I open up and I get hurt again? I'm so tired of feeling closed off and alone. Whatever I'm feeling is valid. And I allow myself to process it all now. I was taught that vulnerability is a weakness. But the truth is, I am a strong person for showing my vulnerability. Vulnerability is important to connect with myself and others. And just because I was hurt in the past for being vulnerable, doesn't mean I will be hurt again. My needs are valid. And I deserve to have my needs met as much as anyone else. So I allow myself to know it is safe for me to be vulnerable. And the more open and vulnerable I am, the more fulfilling my relationships are. I have the courage to be vulnerable with myself and others. It is easy for me to be vulnerable with people I care about. I know and trust that I can share my feelings. And I am proud of myself for sharing my true feelings. Even when it feels scary. If something is important to me, it's worth sharing. Sharing my feelings allows others to know me better. And when they know me better, they can love me better. But I know vulnerability starts with me. So I allow myself to be open and vulnerable with myself first. I now fully let go of my past wounds and fears. And I accept that my vulnerability is a beautiful thing. And I now know and feel the truth of this all. Mind, body, and soul. Go ahead and take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And grab a drink of water if you have some water nearby. We're going to move on to the singing bowl. So this is called sound bathing. So I'm going to be playing some heart chakra music in the background. And then I'll be tapping on my singing bowl. All right, here we go. 10 minutes, sound bathing. take the last few minutes here just to do just the sound of the singing bowl. Everybody, welcome back. If you had your eyes closed, go ahead and open them up. We are going to switch gears now to the last portion of Mindful Monday, which is reading, and we're reading The Power of Now. So I'm going to read that for about 10 minutes. We'll just pick up where we left off. The Buddha says that pain or suffering arises through desire or craving, and that to be free of pain, we need to cut the bonds of desire. All cravings are the mind seeking salvation or fulfillment in external things and in the future as a substitute for the joy of being. As long as I am my mind, I am those cravings, those needs, wants, attachments, and aversions. And apart from them, there is no I except as a mere possibility, an unfulfilled potential, a seed that has not yet sprouted. In that state, even my desire to become free or enlightened is just another craving for fulfillment or completion in the future. So don't seek to become free of desire or achieve enlightenment. Become present. Be there as the observer of the mind. Instead of quoting the Buddha, be the Buddha. Be the awakened one, which is what the word Buddha means. Humans have been in the grip of pain for eons, ever since they fell from the state of grace, entered the realm of time and mind, and lost awareness of being. At that point, they started to perceive themselves as meaningless fragments in an alien universe, unconnected to the source and to each other. Pain is inevitable as long as you are identified with your mind, which is to say, as long as you are unconscious, spiritually speaking. I'm talking here primarily of emotional pain, which is also the main cause of physical pain and physical disease. Resentment, hatred, self-pity, guilt, anger, depression, jealousy, and so on, even the slightest irritation, are all forms of pain. And every pleasure or emotional high contains within itself the seed of pain, its inseparable opposite, which will manifest in time. Anybody who has ever taken drugs to get high will know that the high eventually turns into a low, that the pleasure turns into some form of pain. Many people also know from their own experience how easily and quickly an intimate relationship can turn from a source of pleasure to a source of pain. Seen from a higher perspective, both the negative and the positive polarities are faces of the same coin, are both part of the underlying pain that is inseparable from the mind-identified egoic state of consciousness. There are two levels to your pain: the pain that you create now, and the pain from the past that still lives on in your mind and body. Ceasing to create pain in the present and dissolving past pain, this is what I want to talk about now. Consciousness, the way out of pain. Create no more pain in the present. Nobody's life is entirely free of pain and sorrow. Isn't it a question of learning to live with them rather than trying to avoid them? The greater part of human pain is unnecessary. It is self-created as long as the unobserved mind runs your life. The pain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance, some form of unconscious resistance to what is. On the level of thought, the resistance is some form of judgment. On the emotional level, it is some form of negativity. The intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment, and this in turn depends on how strongly you are identified with your mind. The mind always seeks to deny the now and to escape from it. In other words, the more you are identified with your mind, the more you suffer. Or you may put it like this: the more you are able to honor and accept the now, the more you are free of pain, of suffering, and free of the egoic mind. Why does the mind habitually deny or resist the now? Because it cannot function and remain in control without time, which is past and future. So it perceives the timeless now as threatening. Time and mind are in fact inseparable. Imagine the earth devoid of human life, inhabited only by plants and animals. Would it still have a past and a future? Could we still speak of time in any meaningful way? The question, what time is it, or what's the date today, if anybody were there to ask it, would be quite meaningless. The oak tree or the eagle would be bemused by such a question. What time, they would ask. Well, of course it's now. The time is now. What else is there? Yes, we need the mind as well as time to function in this world, but there comes a point where they take over our lives, and this is where dysfunction, pain, and sorrow set in. The mind, to ensure that it remains in control, seeks continuously to cover up the present moment with past and future. And so, as the vitality and infinite creative potential of being, which is inseparable from the now, becomes covered up by time, your true nature becomes obscured by the mind. An increasingly heavy burden of time has been accumulating in the human mind. All individuals are suffering under this burden, but they also keep adding to it every moment whenever they ignore or deny that precious moment or reduce it to a means of getting to some future moment, which only exists in the mind, never in actuality. The accumulation of time in the collective and individual human mind also holds a vast amount of residual pain from the past. If you no longer want to create pain for yourself and others, if you no longer want to add to the residue of past pain that still lives on in you, then don't create any more time, or at least no more than is necessary to deal with the practical aspects of your life. How to stop creating time? Realize deeply that the present moment